What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Rage Traders NRL Supercoach podcast. Boy, oh boy, I think we have the biggest guest here today, and this is going to be the biggest podcast ever. I'm so excited for this one. We're getting to know and getting into the mind of last year's winner for NRL Supercoach. He absolutely killed it. A young lad, single. He was just diving into the analytics and all the stats and absolutely carved up. His name is Finn, and I'm so excited to speak with him. Now, before we get into everything, if you haven't joined or don't even know about this, I'm running the Rage Traders 1K League. The code is 739499. That's 739499. And if you win, easiest $1,000 of your life. All you have to do is be a subscriber to the Rage Traders on YouTube, and if you win, that money comes to you however you want, except I'm not handing it in cash. It's going to be sent electronically. So let's get him on. Let's start with some getting to know him, some knowledge, and just about him and how he's sort of been a fantasy player, and then we'll get into the nitty gritty stuff as well. But Finn, great to have you on, mate. Thanks for being here. The biggest question I think everybody is asking, especially my wife, she's like, you have to ask him, has he spent all the money yet?
No, thank you for having me on, mate. It's a pleasure. No, I haven't spent it all. I spent I spent money on a couple nice items, but I feel like I'm still at this stage in my life where I want to invest and try and stretch out the money for a long time.
Well, thanks for coming on again, mate. I really appreciate it. One thing I think people may not ask you, but how long have you actually been playing NRL Supercoach for and just fantasy in general? And also on top of that, like, what's the closest you've been personally in Supercoach to winning before you won it last season?
So I've been playing Supercoach since I was in school. I'd say about 12 or 13 years old.
Yeah.
I just got the interest from playing with students and teachers and stuff. But no, I've never really been in the position I was in last year. I had a couple years where I'd be in the top 100, top 200 and fall away. That was about as close as I got. But yeah, no, that last year was the dream run.
And like, just on top of that, do you think there's a reason why you fell away in the previous years and then all of a sudden last year you just kept going up in the ranks? Was like there a key difference that you found?
Yeah, I'd say the main difference was last year I was up the top early and had more trades up my sleeve than I normally would. So if I was playing catch up like in previous years, and I'd try to take risks, and naturally, like, you know, that's not as a high percentage of play, as opposed to, you know, if you're up the top and trying to conserve.
Yeah. Well, I guess it feels like, I mean, if you didn't know, like I'm in my second season. Well, this will be my third season of Supercoach. I was around 21K, then I went 545. And the first year I was super, super passive. The second year I was super, super aggressive, and I saw a massive difference. And it's kind of like with what you're saying is when you know that like first, well, the top 100 is getting away from you, you kind of just get to this point of like, I'm going to do whatever. It might be the riskiest trade or do more trades just to see if I can get closer. And if I don't, I'll still finish around, 1,000 or something. But I think at that point, you're going for all or nothing. And that sounds like what you were kind of doing. And then last season, you were like, hey, actually, I can win this. So you sort of kept playing your strategy.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a front runner's game. It's easier to be a front runner, so it's a lot harder to catch up.
Yeah, 100%. Now, one thing I wanted to ask you before we get into like how you sort of play NRL Supercoach is the way you sort of take in information. Are you like a big, you listen to the Supercoach Experience, SC Playbook, maybe a bit of me, maybe a bit of the Insight Boys? Like, do you just consume as much as you can? Or are you more of a sit back, I'll go on like NRL SC Stats or another website that has all the statistics, sit back and look at it yourself and not try and like, I guess, over like consume your brain with too much knowledge that everything just becomes scattered and you get like, it's like it gets a bit too much?
Yeah, I would say I'm more of the latter. I definitely do consume some podcasts from time to time, but yeah, I don't like to take in too much external noise. Yeah, I definitely kind of just, if I'm not doing my own thing, I'm on Discord a lot, talking to private chats and stuff. That's kind of how I get most of my fix.
Sure. Well, that's really good, mate. So you've been, I guess, playing Supercoach from 13 to 23. 23 is when you've won it. So you've been playing for a decade, which is absolutely nuts already. I mean, to think that when you're 50, you're basically going to be playing for 40 years, which is absolutely insane. But I guess one thing with last season I wanted to ask you is, because you said, at points I would fade away and my rank would actually get worse slightly than actually getting better. When was the point last season, or can you even remember it, where you're like, oh my gosh, I think I can actually come first or get close to first in that last season and actually win this?
So thinking back to last year, it was round 10 was a standout round for me, where it jumped me up into 10th. And so it put me in a position where, like, even though the bye period was probably pretty average in comparison, it kept me somewhat afloat. And by the end of the bye period, towards the run home, I was up in the top 5. And that's when I thought, okay, I've actually got myself in the raffle to win, so to speak.
And when do you usually plan for a bye period? Like, for me personally, I'm like looking at that stuff round 4, round 5. Like, I'm 5 rounds before it. I'm like planning ahead, knowing who I need to get out, knowing like even Origin after that. Like, I'm very like, I try to be 3 steps ahead. Are you the same, or are you more like, I'm just going to focus on how my team is now? I'm going to focus on what it's looking like and what the problems are now. And then when I get to like 2 rounds out from the bye, I'll focus on the bye.
Probably more of the latter. I do think I'd say generally it's a bit premature to think about the bye period with your starting team. But as we get closer, you definitely do want to start to think about it, because you do want to remain flexible in case, because you often see that you have numbers planned for a certain week, and then the week comes and you lose about 4 or 5 guys, and then you run short.
Yeah, exactly right. And I mean, everyone does it a bit differently. I think a lot of people, more of the times, and you'd mostly agree with this, they just get caught out in the bye period and the origin period, and it kind of ruins their season. And that's why I kind of go that being like more prepared is better than being unprepared. But I think people like myself, and maybe I am like that, I can over-prepare. One thing I did horribly last season, which really, like, it didn't ruin me, but I was like, okay, I'm going to learn from this, was there was a choice of me changing my hooker. I had to trade out my hooker. I don't remember who I started with, but it was either Connor Watson or Tom Starling. And I'm like, I feel like I've lost so much money on Tom Starling already. I'm just going to get Connor Watson in. And I completely forgot about the New South Wales Origin. And it didn't like wreck me in a sense. Like, I still had a good backup hooker, but it was those little things that I'll learn from last season where I just didn't think about Origin early enough that kind of hurt me 2-3 rounds later. So yeah, I think everyone has to be on that page. But in going into like bye periods and just throughout the season, was there like 1 or 2 trades, both good and bad, that you were like, oh my God, that was amazing, or oh my God, that is a horrible trade I've done, I've got to like reset?
In terms of the good, I'd say a lot of the notable ones were the moves I did early to set me up. So I feel like the fullback moves I made were really pivotal. So for instance, I started with Iongi, and I held him up until his bye and traded to Drinkwater when the Eels had their bye. And that's when Drinkwater started to go 100, 100, 100. So I felt like the timing was pretty ideal on that.
Yeah.
I went turbo to Tedesco round 3, and obviously I ended up just holding Teddy throughout the season with his bye coverage and stuff, and he would have scored the most points for me out of any player. And then I went...
and can I just ask quickly on those trades? Because I held Iongi way longer, and I was like, I'll make more money out of him, then I'll trade him in, and hopefully I'll regather the points. At that point, are you just like, okay, I can sense more points coming from Drinkwater and his run and Tedesco, and I'm just going to chase the points, even if the Iongi break-even is looking okay and I can make a bit more money out of him, I still want to go for these points? Is that where your head is at?
Yeah, in retrospect, for me, it was a pretty easy upgrade. I feel like I milked enough points and cash out of Iongi, and because he had the bye that week, I just felt it was the perfect time to jump on someone like Drinkwater.
Well, that's really good because I didn't get drink water until like round 21. So that's something else that really hurt me, which I've spoken about on other podcasts as well. One thing I wanted to ask as well, when you're making your team, like last season especially, but also just in general, are you always trying to find value in every single player? Because me, like I also play AFL fantasy, and a lot of AFL fantasy is your one or two premiums, but everyone else you're really trying to just say, okay, they can make money, and they can obviously have some of them can have better output than others, like a cheapie compared to a mid pricer. For example, like a Hopgood, he still may produce like a 55 to a 60 this season, or starting off, there's 5 to 10 points of value. Or are you more sort of, I'll go like three Uber premiums, two Uber premiums, and go guns and rookies? Like, is there a strategy that you always go with?
No strategy like set in stone. I think it just depends on the season. But I wouldn't say I would want to extract value out of every spot necessarily. I think that might be more of the case with the impending rule changes, which I'm sure we'll get into.
Yeah.
But I think mainly because captaincy is a thing, you really do want like 2 to 3, whatever, like early season, you do want a few captaincy options that you can pick from because obviously they score double the points. So it's more about cash in that regard.
Yeah. So, I guess with captaincy, which funnily enough is my next question, I go, how do you generally attack captaincy? Like, and this can we maybe put this in a bracket of start of the season and sort of like mid-season when you're feeling like your rank is a lot better. At the start of the season, are you more safe? Like, you more just going, look, Captain Payne Haas, for example, if he's even in your team, I get the 65, 70, 75 out of him, whatever it may be, go to the next week and just worry about my team in other areas and building that up? Or do you like trying to take, the turbo early at Pines Park, those type of captaincies early, and then does that change through to the middle of the season?
I mean, generally, like I try to like being safe I think is a viable option early in the season, generally because teams are being played tighter. Generally, not as many big scores that you can benefit from. But generally, I just try to go for the best option in the certain week, given the circumstances.
Yeah, so you just look at the draw and off the draw think, what's the safest but best outcome?
Yeah, more or less. Yeah.
Okay. For me, I'm like, Payne Haas, put the C on him and just worry about the rest. Like that's the way it's looking. I think, though, which is what we're going to get into with the rule changes or scoring changes, we are going to see maybe some players be even more of a safe to consistency. Like even your Harry Grant could possibly be someone that's just a 65, a 60 plus now with the tackles, with the way, obviously they haven't changed like the runs and stuff like that, but the try assist also affecting other players. Even like a hooker, Harry Grant against a St. George Dragons could be a great safe pick whenever that may be. So obviously, I think we're going to see from the preseason challenge statistics come out. I don't know if they've even like put up with the new Supercoach stats. Maybe you can tell me, or up yet from like the preseason from the first couple of games, and I don't know if that's going to be up yet. But I think that's going to be a great outlier to see how how things are going to start looking. Do you think there's a chance of you starting with 2 premium hookers or high-ish hookers now with the changes?
Yeah, big chance. I'm still kind of experimenting with it, but I have looked at putting another hooker in the flex spot, for instance. I think if it wasn't already the case, now with these rule changes, I think the flex spot is wide open. You can go with anyone you want.
I had Brandon Smith in my flex spot, believe it or not, and I had Harry Grant and Reid Marnie, and I was like, gosh, this looks ultra weird. This looks almost too weird just to look at. But the thought of like a Reed Marnie, or even, I know it sounds crazy, but like even just having Harry Grant and Blake Brayley kind of like this set and forget. If Blake Brayley can just do what he did at the end of the season, sort of semi to the start, it's the most consistent points you're going to get with it, how these guys tackle. And then Brandon Smith is making you money, and then all of a sudden he goes out, you get someone in the flex. I mean, it sounds crazy to think you'd put, $1.25 million in your hookers, but it could be the difference in someone, like how you start the season and how did you get to this high rank. Maybe it's because some people just go this double hooker premium.
I feel like if you would have asked me before, I would have said double premium hookers was a waste of money. But 100%. Now, because of the rule changes, hookers are going to be winners out of this. So, yeah, it is something I've toyed with, having both Brayley and Grant.
Yeah. Do you think if you do that, though, you really get hurt on either not having Haas or not having... I'd say it'd be not having a higher price centre, right? I don't think, unless you're not starting with Haas, I mean, we don't have to get into that, but do you think if you do that high 2 double premium hooker, are you dropping out from the FRF, or are you dropping out from the centre or the halfback? Like, where would you sort of go?
So if I were to do that, I'd have one of them in the flex spot, and it would be at the expense of another spine player. So like a half or a fullback.
Okay, very interesting, very interesting. I guess we'll talk about this now because we have been talking about the scoring changes. I just love to know, what were your thoughts about it when it just randomly came out and sort of the whole Supercoach world just went, what the hell is happening? All us content creators were like, how are we supposed to source this information? Like, I don't even have enough time in the day to figure out 2 players and the stats changes. I don't know how I've been given spreadsheets of 200 players. People just have grinded really hard. But when it all happened, did you kind of take a day off and just go, okay, I need to rethink my whole team, clear it all up and go from there? And what are your thoughts on the actual changes?
Yeah, when I saw it, I thought, it's. I was going to reset my team because obviously it's a massive change. It's kind of throw the book out. But generally, I actually do like the changes, just because it brings fullbacks who are really OP if you think about it. Same with halfbacks to an extent. It kind of brings them back a bit and makes it a bit more balanced between the positions. And I guess it'll be more of an emphasis on actually strengthening your team throughout the season. And even the lack of change with the run interpretations, I like that too. So generally, I do like it. Just I thought the timing was a bit weird because it was basically just before the trials, and the team Supercoach had the prices out that pretty much based off the old stats. So
yeah, I don't want to bag them, but I mean, I've said I'm a very open book, right? And the one thing I don't understand is when you're enticing people to subscribe to Supercoach for whatever, I think it's called the Gold, Supercoach Gold, or whatever it is that they're called, where it allows you to get Team Picker early, you pay a bit of cash, you start looking at prices early, and they knew that a change was coming that was just going to make everything around that pointless. What was the point of me getting into a Team Picker, putting my whole team out, and then scoring stats change? Now my whole team is different. I mean, I've got Kinney and Tom Chester in my fullbacks now compared to 3 fullbacks over 500,000. That's completely different. So that was my only gripe with it. I do agree with you. I think the changes are amazing. I don't like that they haven't changed some prices according to what the changes are going to be. I think people... I reckon there's going to be people out there, honestly, that don't even know the scoring has been changed. Literally. There's people working out there day and night, and over the next month or two, that's going to fade away, and they're going to look and they're just going to play the game, and they're going to be like, wait, why does no one have 3 fullbacks in my head-to-head league? What's going on? So that's my only thing, but I think it's going to make each position more even. Hookers are now warranted. We're not just nuffing in hookers a lot. even you're like, there's so much value in FRF and 2RF now, especially for the guys that are playing 80 minutes. Like, Hopgood, who tackle a lot. Terrell May even has more value now. He was completely faded before the changes. And now all of a sudden people are talking about him because he's a tackle monster. So, I mean, and sometimes he is the third tackler. A lot of the times you'll see him come in for a late swoop around the legs. And I actually think he has viability now. But yeah, I do agree with you. It's for the best. It was just timed incorrectly, but so on. We move on. That's it. And we just got to adjust. I'll put this in a way of like, let's start with this. Because we've spoken about the changes so much and how they've changed the game, do you think people are overreacting with how they've changed their team? Like, for me, going from Far Logo, Kinney, Jai Gray to Kinney, Chester, do you think people like myself and others who are doing similar things or going double cheapy in the halfbacks now because of the try assist change, do you think we're overreacting and them talking about a 0.68% difference in the scoring is just not something we should really go over the board with?
Yeah, firstly, I think the percentage they spewed out was a bit of BS, to be honest.
I agree.
If I were to guess, because it doesn't look that way. But no, like in isolation, like for instance, if you're taking money away from your fullbacks, I think that's what I'll be looking to do. I don't think that's an overreaction. From what I've seen of other people though, like if, I don't know, yeah, like even maybe really cheap fullbacks, really cheap halfbacks, it might be a bit of an overreaction, like especially if we just go from like the starting point of the season, that might be a sample size where the changes aren't that drastic. It might just be more season long.
Yeah, I'm actually leaning more towards maybe a Tom Chester in the flex and Kinney Gray. I just think Gray is a very pivotal point of the Souths team now, where he's either going to get it from like a Latrell or possibly even like Fafita, who kind of breaks the line and he's there as the support runner. He's also just had like a year, I think, of like a massive growth. He signed with the Bunnies. I know we shouldn't be talking about players, but for some reason, I'm just thinking from the changes that I've heard about, Jai Gray is going to be like one of those fullbacks that kind of like is going to get a bit of both. He's still going to get the good of the changes and still be someone who makes a bit of money. I don't know if he's someone you've looked at and kind of said, I can't do it, too much risk or whatever, but do you have a bit of thoughts on Jai Gray just quickly? I know it wasn't in the questions, but I have to bring it up.
All good. I did look at him. The only concern I have is I just think Latrell would take too many attacking opportunities away from him, the way that might play out. Like, he's not going to just be standing in centre and twiddling his thumbs, I wouldn't imagine. But you're right, like, the changes won't affect someone like Jai Gray as much as other fullbacks, mainly because he doesn't have much of a playmaking sense. He's more of a Dylan Edwards light sort of fullback. So, yeah, maybe I should give him a bit more consideration.
Oh, do not do that. Do not take my word and then do it. And if he goes bad, blame me. I can't have that. You stick with your gut, please.
I'll make my own decisions at the end of the day.
Okay,
but you're safe.
Okay, good. I'll go to, I guess, talking about a bit of like players from your side and what you've been looking at. Now, the one thing I hate is when someone who's won it or done really well last season, they're in the top 10, they do a team reveal. I would never do that to someone because people will copy it just at the start of the season and just be like, okay, I'll just run with what the guy who won it did and hopefully go good from there. But from your end, do you have like a golden player at the moment, besides Payne Haas and Keanu Kinney, who will be in a lot of teams, that you're really hot on in sort of like that over 500, 600,000 bracket? And also, do you have like a little golden pod that you're sort of like watching and wanting to see in preseason trials to see how they look?
For the first question, I think I do have a strong answer. Fletcher Sharp hasn't really left my team.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yes. Okay.
Well, I guess because, well, Obviously, the rule changes won't affect someone like him. Like, it'll be pretty negligible, in my opinion.
And can I just ask, what role are you thinking he plays at based off him being in your team?
If he plays 5'8".
Okay, sure.
I should have clarified. Yeah, if he doesn't play that role, then he's a pretty easy flick and downgrade to someone else.
Okay.
But because now that Jaden Campbell's moved away from 5'8", he was the best 5'8" last year. I'm pretty happy to take on someone like Munster, to be honest. And anyone else in that sub-gun range doesn't really excite me. I think someone like Fletcher Sharp's really appealing to me. If he doesn't get that role, then Dylan Brown will be playing this. He'll get the duel, and I'd imagine many others would be interested in someone like Dillbags.
Would you go Dylan Brown over Munster?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I'm the same too. 680,000. I think it's 683,000 for Munster. It's a lot of dough for the 5'8" position. But the one thing I like about Munster as well is that he's just got two aerial weapons on both sides. Like, you got Will Warbrick and Xavier Coates for those kind of bombish chip kicks where they can just easily catch it and score a try, where the try assist is still valued towards him. And that's something I like also about Sam Walker, halfback position that I've been looking at, where I can try to like scapegoat or just try and like find a little loophole. Like, how can I still get the try assist from the halfbacks that are going to lose a bit out of it? But again, Dylan Brown, with how he's averaged, how he's looked coming into a new Newcastle team, I think he's a safer pick. I think he's about 505,000 for memory. So I do agree with you there. One thing I wanted to ask you around. You also have to say who your golden pot is. Sorry, I apologize.
No, all good. Someone that I have looked at but I'm unsure about is Uto Ikamanu.
Yep.
So someone that I would be looking at in that FRF2 spot.
Mm-hmm.
After I'd say the origin period is when his minutes ramped up and he started looking like an absolute weapon, and he averaged really well. I'm unsure because he's kind of priced in that awkward range where he'd really have to be putting up those numbers again to justify the pick, and I also don't really trust how Bellamy will use him, so he might be more of a wait and see for me.
It's a great pick. The problem that I find is you also have so much around him that you can go to. Like, again, you've got Trey Mooney, who just looks like he could be a safer pick. You've got Jermaine Hopgood, again, who likely and should be in the prop role. Then you've also got someone like Colo, just someone who, if he looks amazing in the preseason trials, if he does play, again, you're just like, do I just run like Haas Colo and just set and forget type thing? But again, and maybe I'll just add on to this. Do you try and not do too much to your FRFs? Because like when you go like a lower FRF in FRF2, like let's say I go Trey Mooney in FRF2, right? At one point in the season, I'll want to take him out. Now, hypothetically though, with Stefano, he could actually do so much, like the numbers could be amazing that you're like, you know what? I actually don't need to really take him out a lot of the time. Do you try and like focus on things where you're like, I'll just want to get players in there that I don't have to worry about, i.e. like Payne Haas until Origin, etc.? Or do you just go, nah, I think Stefano has value, and when the time comes, I'll just trade him out?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I guess, like, again, it depends. But, no, well, generally, I wouldn't want to spend too much time mucking around in FRF. So something like Payne Haas, and even Carrigan, who would be a big beneficiary of the rule changes, having someone like that, having like that set up all the way up until Origin with no buys sounds really appealing. Mm-hmm. The problem is, like, because all the FRFs seem pretty underpriced, like, it's still pretty viable to go like a gun and a cheap or something like that. But yeah, like it's if I were to, I guess if I were to pick, like I would have to have some security, and it allows flexibility in other spots.
I guess also the good thing to know is there's so much FRF 2RF dual players that even if you did start with Stefano, I feel like there's so much coverage there. Like you've got Toby Couchman, someone who you could maybe find some money to go up to. Again, Jermaine Hopgood. There's even if Jesse Colhoun just put up some ridiculous numbers while McInnes was gone. Like you've got so much coverage there and support around the Stefano thing if it goes wrong. But I don't think at his price and who he's playing with and the way he played, I don't mind it. But we'll see if you have the gonads to do it. We'll see come start of season if you've actually done it. All right. We've got a few questions left. Last 3. Do you have a strategy that you do personally around boosting and how you like to trade early in the start of the season?
Not particularly. I think if you get your starting team wrong, for instance, and you feel like you got your structure wrong, then yes, by all means, I think you should boost, be aggressive early to fix up your team.
Mm-hmm.
If you feel like you got your starting team right, luck based, like a lack of injuries come into play. If you get injuries and you feel like you have to boost, then that's fine. Obviously, boosts are valuable. They're more valuable the earlier in the season.
Yeah.
So usually people front load their boosts.
Did you use a lot of your boosts in the start of the season? Like before Origin period, are you 2 to 3 boosts down?
Yeah, I do find that to be the case. It's only been out for a few years. I think I had 1 or 2 where all of my boosts have been used before the buy period. Last year, I managed to save a boost up until the last major buy round, and that actually allowed me to, because I was going to play short otherwise, so it actually saved me. And that was a big reason that
wow.
that's a lot of it's luck, mate. So. But yeah,
there's no luck there. You kept it there for a reason, and it came in handy. You know what I mean? So, I mean, there is a bit of luck in terms of, hey, your captain might get injured, or you might have more injuries in the start of the year. But I think it was last season as well, correct me if I'm wrong, that there were a ton of injuries towards the back end of the season, a bit of carnage, and a lot of people were getting caught out. I mean, I was sitting with like 6 trades, 7 trades, and people had like 2 or 3, and they're like, I don't even know what to do. Like, there's 6 rounds left. So, I mean, it depends what happens. I mean, 1 year, there's no injuries, and you've got 12 trades, and you're like, my team's good. Why do I have 12 trades? And the next is the complete opposite. So, it's very interesting to hear your take. I think, personally, as I said before, I think I just find so much more value in being aggressive. I don't know if you go out of your way. Like, for example, I think it was last season or the one before, everyone was going Justin Olam early. When he had like a great first game with the West Tigers. When you see someone that has had a really good like first or second game and they're in a negative break-even state, but you think they're still not an amazing player, but they are going to make you cash, will you go out of your way just to get them in your team to get the cash, then move them on kind of like immediately 1 or 2 rounds later?
Yes, I think... actually, what comes to mind, I think a good example of that, and he ended up being a good cash cow, was Jesse Arthurs. So obviously he scored well the first 2. He had a massive negative break even. I couldn't justify bringing him in just because of the state of my centre wing. A lot of people, I think, went Purdue to him, and that would have backfired in a general sense. But also, I brought in like Billy Smith. I went Jenkins to Billy Smith when he was on the bubble, and he had like a -70 break even. I wish I could have had that trade back. I think that might have been too aggressive on my part. Just trying to get as much kind of cash generation as possible.
Yeah, so you went Jenkins to Billy Smith, right?
Yeah.
And then Jenkins had some pretty massive games, right? I think he had some games where he went over even like 80, 90, even plus 100 as well towards the back. Yeah, okay.
I would have been
you still won it,
though.
You still won it.
Well, it goes to show you don't have to be perfect.
Exactly right.
Plenty of,
yeah. We've obviously said that you're sort of like on the ladder. You don't have a strategy on like being passive and super aggressive, or like evaluating your team is like how you sort of do it like per season. But I guess with the last question, completely different to sort of strategy and everything. But at the moment, Is there a player that you've seen talked about like a lot, or just has like a bit of a high ownership or higher than you'd expect, that you are just completely avoiding, that you're like, I don't understand why this player is being picked a lot. They're never going to be in my team. And who is that player if you do?
I don't have a strong answer for this. So I'll answer in a combo. So I've seen a lot of people, and they would be pretty highly owned, both individually and as a setup, but a lot of people were going Moses and Cody Walker as their starting halves. I see the appeal in them, like, individually, because, like, I can see that their value, like, they are quite cheap for what they can do, but also think the rule changes will hurt them both more than a lot of other players, and it's just not something that I'm too interested in, especially Walker.
Yeah, I mean, Moses is in my team at the moment, but that's not because I want him there. Like, it's because I just want so much strength in my 2RF and FRF and centers that I'm kind of like resorted to that. But I would honestly prefer closer to saying Dylan Brown, even at my halfback, to save a bit of money. I'm on the same. I think one thing people do in Supercoach is, and this is about Cody Walker, it's not to knock him, but they get like attracted to the headlines, like Cody Walker's back, Dave Fafita's in the team, and they put this image in their head of like Cody Walker doing a nice short pass to Dave Fafita to an easy try, and they're going to make, like, it's all like just lush greens and just a beautiful world, where the reality is, like, you actually have to look at the stats and look at his age and look at like the injuries that's happened to him. Like, you can't just always be looking at the positives only. You have to weigh the positives with the negatives. And that's why I could never start with him. And I've also said to people, like, if something does go wrong with Cody Walker, what do you do? Like, where do you find 200 grand to go to someone? And that's why I'd rather start like a Cam Munster or a Dylan Brown. Because if Cody Walker looks the goods, I've always said in fantasy, like, no matter what fantasy game I play, it's 20 times easier to go down than to go up in fantasy. Like, it is such more of a headache to like try and find money from someone to get the person to make 200, rather than just go, I'll just sell Dylan Brown, make 150, 200, and put Cody Walker in before the price goes up, and then I can use that cash that I've made or got in now in my salary to fulfill another role or position.
Yeah, no. And if there's no cheapie available at the time, then if Cody goes down, you have to go up.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, it's pretty natural for people, like, you know, as you said, with the narrative-based stuff, like it is pretty natural to fall into the sensation of it all, myself included. So,
yeah. Now, I know we're at the end of our podcast, but I know you know that I sent you some questions through, so we were prepared for this. But I had a little segment here. It's rapid fire choices. I've just got 10 choices here, 2 players in each, where I'm just going to spit out the names, and you just tell me who you would have in your team right now out of these 2 players. All right? Make sure your mic isn't muted, by the way.
So yeah, I can't fence it. I have to pick someone.
That's all right. All right.
Yeah.
So we've got 10 options here. All right. And I'm going to do this as fast as possible. Yao or Toby Couchman?
Yeah.
Cleary or Haas?
Haas.
Cleary or Hines? Tough one.
I'll go Hines.
Grant or Brayley?
Grant.
Moses or Dylan Brown?
Brown.
Sam Walker or Moses?
Walker.
This is going to be an easy one for you. Cody Walker or Fletcher Sharp?
Sharp.
Hopgood or Hamish Stewart?
Hopgood.
Far Logo or Jai Gray?
Far Longer.
Latrell or Jacob Carraz?
Latrell.
And there you go. The King answers. Thank you so much, man. I hope you had fun. Thanks for being on the podcast. Honestly,
No,
it was an absolute
thanks, man.
pleasure. I thought there's no way this guy's going to say yes. He's most probably had heaps of people bugging him last season. But man, I appreciate it. It would be also super cool, maybe throughout the season, not like every week or everything, like every month and a half. We just get you in, have a chat about how your team's going, what you're hating, what you're liking, seeing where you're at, following, like tracking you. Obviously, we're not going to do a team reveal or anything like that, but it'll be good to have you on like every 6 weeks, 5 weeks or so here and there, where you just want to talk about some stuff and what you're liking about your team and not, if you want to, of course.
No, sounds fun, bro. I'm open to it.
Easy as, man. Thank you so much for just coming on, man. Hope you enjoyed the podcast, everyone, on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Finn here, the winner of NRL Supercoach 2025, still got the money in the bank, only upgraded his phone and living large. And we'll see what his team looks like towards the start of the season, where you get to look at everyone's team. Is your team going to be called the same as last season, by the way?
Maybe. I'm undecided.
I think
Probably.
you should do something like I won it last year. Something like just to tease people, let them know that you've got it, that you're the king.
That'd be aura, wouldn't it?
Yeah, aura farming. But yeah, let us know when you know like what your team name will be, so we can check out your team once everything's locked out and released after round 1. And thanks for being here, mate. Hope you had a fun time. Good luck, and hope to see you on the top 100.
Thanks, mate. You too. Thanks for having me on.
Easy as.